How many of y'all recycle? Oh, we're doing fairly well. As far as a percentage, it's above average for a group in Memphis, so that's very good, and I appreciate that. The first question that's normally asked is, what can you recycle? So let's see if I can get to page 2. Okay, and the easiest one for 100 years, oh actually no, for about 20 years, the City of Memphis has recycled paper. So you get your newspapers, and I'll just plop these over here, I'm sorry. Newspapers, oops, gray board, cardboard, magazines, school papers, office papers, all kinds of papers. And yesterday, I was eating out, and I got a paper clamshell. So instead of having that styrofoam thing that just goes to the landfill, really has no valuable usage, I got something that I can recycle. You're going to say, Joy, check to make sure there's no food damage. There was. But I can at least recycle half. The rest is compostable. So, so that's one of the... Anyway, so while we'll go on, the next thing is plastics. So I'll get my plastic egg carton. I have a son that believes that we should always eat happy eggs. So we get those organic ones that are cage-free, so the chickens are happy and the eggs are happy. Then let's see what else. Used to, and when I first gave my first demonstration in recycling, I was about to have cataract surgery. And my kids had to take the plastics and enlarge the numbers on the bottom because we only recycled numbers 1 and 2. And I used to say the reason why we only recycled numbers 1 and 2 is because we couldn't count any higher. But that really wasn't true. We can't count it all. So it's a lot easier just to recycle everything. So this, say for instance, is a number 5. We wouldn't have taken in the old days, but it's clearly within our bunch. And let's see, do I have anything else in here? And this is your regular water glass, a water bottle. The neat thing about it, well, we're back up, kind of, sort of. It works. And, oh, it zigged just a little bit, but that's not stay right there. Yes. And, but we used to say, take the lid off and recycle this, but this fell through the sorting system. We say, leave it on now. And actually, it increases the value of the bottle. So you don't have to get rid of these things. Put them back on when you're done and go from there. There was another thing in paper that I forgot, and it's something that we added, and it's the carton. And maybe it isn't specifically paper. It has wax on it and a couple other things. But the reality is my half and half, which is the only milk product I drink, I freely admit that, it always goes into the recycling bin. And it's a good thing. Let's see, aluminum. Okay, there's the can. Everybody has them. I will tell you this makes my program. There's the warm, fuzzy feeling in recycling, and there's the reality that recycling has a fiscal responsibility as well. This can, and others with it, get me in between $1,100 and $1,600 a ton. So, and I'm paid every time my composite tonnage sales rate is over $100. So I have to sell aluminum in order to make it profitable. Profit and revenue are two different things. So this is to make revenue. We added a couple of things too. Now, everybody goes somewhere and uses one of these types of aluminum pans sometime. This one, actually, I didn't go anywhere. Sister Schubert's was the meal of choice yesterday morning at my house. And so this is the Sister Schubert's tin. But the casserole tin, you know, with the lasagnas in it and all the wonderful things, is just as good. The only thing I can say is when I first started dumpster diving, or actually cart diving, in the city about 8 months ago, I noticed that a lot of people still had the chicken casserole still in the container. Now, I'm very fortunate. My husband is retired, and he's a compulsive cleaner. So there's always this warm bay or section of the sink that is full of warm water, and everything goes in it. So in the end, I end up with clean recycling, just like clean dishes that are loaded into the dishwasher. So, but it's a good thing. Okay, then let's see, that was another plastic. There's another thing that we call steel. Okay, your mom said it was tin. I don't think she was right. But anyway, it's a steel can. It's your baked beans, your corn, your green beans if you don't get the fresh ones. But it's a lot of things that come into your home. And it's steel, and it'll end up in your car in the long term. And then let's see, glass bottles and jars. I had a hard time finding a bottle. Thank heavens my daughter drinks, and she'd come over the house. I don't buy glass bottles anymore. My wine comes in a box. Please don't judge me. Please don't judge me. But the reason why is that glass is the most costly material to recycle. Okay? We don't get paid for it. We pay for it to be recycled. And then you say, why would you do that, Joy? I still save $5 a ton. So it is more cost-effective to recycle glass than it is to send it to the landfill. And we believe that if we change the menu, they would immediately come up with an economic solution to glass recycling, and we'd have to go back and ask y'all to recycle glass again. I may be back in the future asking y'all to drink beer out of glass bottles, but I hope not. I do apologize for that. But basically, those are the things we recycle. So what don't we recycle? Styrofoam, that is correct. Although I was at a conference earlier this week and saw some opportunities in styrofoam, I don't think it's at a point that we're ready for that yet. So styrofoam is the one thing, and the other thing is plastic bags. Now, I know for years y'all had those little tan bins, and you actually put it in plastic bags often because it kept it from blowing, it kept it from getting wet, it kept people from rummaging through it. I mean, all those things. But the reality is that plastic bags tend to bind the sorting system. And when they bind the sorting system, they have to stop, unclog, and start over again. So plastic and plastic films, plastic bags and plastic films are not acceptable. So if you're putting them in, don't. There's always that brown paper bag you can get from the grocery store. I have a lot of those too. So let's see, let's go to the next one. Why did Memphis switch to a single stream recycling? And in particular, why did they switch to those 96-gallon cards? Well, that is a good point. Yeah, that only so much could be put into those little square bins, and when you filled it up, you thought, well, I've done good. Now everything else can go in the garbage cart, and we'll go forward. And that was a logic behind it. Plus, it was heavy to carry. You had to pick it up like this. You walked down. You put it down. It was open to the weather. There were a lot of big issues with it. And so in 2014, we rebid the contract for the far east section of Memphis. And Cordova, Hickory Hill, Country Wood, goes all the way to Eads, okay? And when the contract came in, they said, well, you know what? We have to collect recycling, but we can give you a $1 discount per household per month if you switch to 96-gallon cards. Okay, it's a 5-year contract, so that's 60 months. Okay, a cart cost about $46 to $48 delivered to your house. We still have $12, $13, $14 left over per household. And so we save about $400,000 in the contract by buying cards. So we bought them. And when we bought them, we put them out. That was the week that I became recycling administrator. And we put them out, and it was either going to succeed or fail. And the weirdest thing happened. We, of course, measure every recycling point, basically, where there's 5 different segments of the city. And we measure them. And what happened is that the Area E, which includes Hickory Hill, to Eads recycled more in the first month than the rest of the city. Pretty crazy. And you know what? It got better. Pretty soon, not only did they surpass us, but they went above, way far above. So we thought, something's going on here. Well, you say, there's probably some money decisions in there. And besides that $400,000 we saved just on the contract. And the other consideration is that every bit of recycling that goes into your recycling cart or into your recycling bin, if you still have one, goes to ReCommunity. ReCommunity is our processor, and they don't charge us one single penny to process. If I took that same load and I took it to the landfill, right now it's above $25 a ton. So now I'm beginning to save money in volume because it's not going to the landfill. And so that was a win. So we thought, well, let's get some more cards. And I think that's in here somewhere. So we've gotten to there. Oh, in the middle of it, the recycling commodities market tanked. Okay? It's kind of like the stock market, kind of. And I say it's kind of like oil. And oil just went up the other day, a little bit. At least my husband told me so. He gives me a report every day. But oil went up, so I expect commodities to go up. But at the same time, last month, my commodity, I get $600 a ton for certain plastics. That same group of plastics went to $300. So it's a scary, it's volatile, it may have to do with China, it may have to do with any sort of thing. But at this point, my money's fluctuating, so I'm not getting extra or lanyard money in the sale, but I am getting my diversion cost. And let's see, so after 16 years of 8,000 tons a year, literally, that's all the city of Memphis ever did was 8,000 tons a year in, year out, from 1995 on to so it's maybe more than that, maybe 20 years. All of a sudden, we're up to 1,300 tons, 13,000 tons a year, which is actually remarkable because it's an increase of about 3/4, 75% overall. So we said we'll buy some more carts. We asked the state piggybacked and paid for half cost on about 10,000 carts. And then the closed loop fund approached us and said, look, we'll buy you carts. You pay us back with the money you save on diversion. And other than that, if you don't save any money on diversion, nobody in this room loses anything, period. They will just accept their loss. They may come back and get the carts, but they will accept their loss. The weird thing is we plan to pay them about $200,000 a year in diversion savings, and over a 10 to 15-year period of time is what it would end up taking. And we're already closer to $400,000 a year in savings that we're paying back to them. And so in the next 4 years, it'll be paid for. And then we can go on to using the diversion as a multiplier. Let's see, what's over here? So we basically, we're up to about 1,800 tons a month, or about 20,000 tons a year now. And that's all because of y'all. Unless y'all lived in Eads, y'all were the first people. And but if you live in the middle part of Memphis or from the basic loop over, it's because of y'all, because y'all have made a big difference in the amount of materials that we collect. Okay, so where do we stand? Now, it just loves to switch. But let's go back and talk just a little bit. Where we stand, or where, if you looked at the slide that won't show up, is that in 2014, the average household the average for the city of Memphis was 97 pounds of recycling a year. Now, I can tell you if you read the newspaper or you have a combination of paper, I'm pointing at Sandy, paper and heavy stuff, glass and things like that, that your recycling cart probably weighs, closer to 25 pounds. Okay, good. So his way is close. No telling what he's putting in there. Maybe we don't want to know. It's not aluminum cans. I'm pretty sure it's not aluminum. So, but what we ended up with is that 97 pounds is just really almost embarrassing to mention. Okay, almost every one of our compatriots, Collierville, Germantown, recycled more by 200 pounds a year per household. And I'm not sure what happened because it looked great on my computer. But now we're up to 270, I'm guessing. And that is respectable, and it's growing. Because at the beginning of the year, we recycled about 1,400 tons a month, and now we're at 1,800 tons a month. So our recycling volume is growing monthly, and that's wonderful. And that's, once again, to y'all. And I think in part it's the cart. Why does the cart work? Well, number one, it's easy. You don't have to pick up like this. You roll it down. Anybody can do it, even your husband. And so it's a good thing. Then you can put lots more in it. The first week that my daughter got hers, we were doing an IKEA kitchen, and 3/4 of the boxes fit in the first recycling cart load. The second load finished it out, but so there's an entire kitchen in 2 recycling carts, and so that was a win. And you can do it throughout your house whenever you're doing projects, whenever you have a party. It's not, what do I do with this stuff? You just throw it in the cart. And that helps significantly. The third thing is that people don't have to worry about pilfering. You know how hard it is to get something out of the bottom of a cart? I mean, literally, I can't bend and get in it, but I can reach down about 2/3 of the way, and if I've dropped something in that I have to dump it over, turn it upside down, get it out, and put it back in. So nobody can pilfer, or at least it's reduced it significantly. Your identity's protected, your materials are guaranteed to be recycled, and that's a win. And I think the last part of it is that it identifies recycling as a significant waste stream that you can put things in because we've identified the size. And then the second part of it is that now you have so much more room in your garbage cart. One week, I forgot to put my garbage out, and my husband did, of course. So I heard the truck. It comes in just after 7, like 7:15. So I grab my robe, and I run outside, and I pull the cart out, and I open it up. It's empty. Totally empty. I ran inside. There was a small bag underneath my kitchen sink. I grabbed it, tied it up, and threw it in. Now, at the same time, my recycling cart was full. So it's part of it is diverting. So you say, well, I have that bag of grass every once in a while. Shame on you because you should mulch mow. But the reality is now you can put your grass inside your cart. It fits that bag of weird stuff that you ended up extra from a party now fits in. All of a sudden, you don't have the extra bags. You just roll them out. So it's a lot easier as far as managing your waste. And we gave up on the pictures. So one of the things Jane asked was, where does it go and what happens to it? Well, we pick it up and we take it to a place called Recommunity. It's at Ferris View, and basically it's the corner of Lamar and 240. But it's on a street called Ferris View. You turn in across from the truck stop and come in on Ferris View, round the curve, and there it is. And we take it there. And then from there, the only way I can explain it is it's kind of like a combination of Space Mountain and Buzz Lightyear. Okay? So it starts with a whole series of cranking sounds, just like you hear right when the Space Mountain starts. You go up, and then you start going down. So it pulls most of the materials up on a conveyor belt. Then there starts to be turning processes. Heavier things fall to the bottom. Paper goes over the top. And it continues to move, diverted from one way to another. And then the plastics end up in the Buzz Lightyear section. And I can't explain it because I'm not a scientist. And I'm actually a landscape architect. But the process is this, that they shoot this jet of light at the plastic. And it automatically determines what type of plastic is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then once that shot determines it, then there's a puff of air that sends the plastic in the right direction. So the first year that I worked in solid waste, I worked in recycling, and I went out and I worked in the plant. And so I had milk jugs the whole day. Milk jugs, milk jugs, milk jugs. They were coming down the conveyor belt. I had to find them. If you remember Lucy and what's her, Ethel, in the candy factory, it was the same thing. I couldn't get them done fast enough. They kept coming around again and again, you know. And it was severe aerobic exercise, and if I'd done it, I really would look nice now, but I didn't stay with it. I gained weight and, you know, got old. But the reality is that now it's done with a machine. And there are people there, and they do the fine-tuning at the end, the things that didn't break through or separate correctly, the things that come through again, they basically do the final sorts and perfect the mix. What happens is during the day, they have bins that probably go up to that cross member, I guess the ceiling height on the two sides, and they're caged. The materials fall into those. And I filled up a half a bin the day that I did it, which was probably not good, but it was still a fairly decent benchmark. So they fill these up as they go through the day. They go into another conveyor, they open up a bin, it goes into a conveyor belt, and then they squash it into squares. So the plastics, the clear plastics is one category, and HDPEs, and it'll come out as a white plastic bale. The colored ones become more attractive, almost art pieces. So you see all the different colors of plastic coming out of the square. And cans, especially the new Memphis breweries. Notice pushing cans again. They have such attractive logos and actually pieces, so you see these little smidgens of all the different types of cans that are available in Memphis. So everything goes into bales and it's sold. And right now we sell about 2.5 to 3,000 tons a month. Some are saved and go out in different months and things along that way. So that's basically how it works. Okay, I think that the next section is something that nobody wants to ask, just going from the slides. And it was a news article that was in the Commercial Appeal on July 4th. And on July 4th, the lady had interviewed a number of people, I guess it's through that USA Today connection, across the state. It aired in different locations about what recycling cost. And no one gave an answer. No one. Absolutely no. Well, they gave answers. They just didn't answer the question. I had Mr. Collins from MLGW worked in Public Works when I first got there, and his whole theory was pick an answer, give it no matter what the question is. And I think that everyone that answered these questions did that. So let's see, Collierville said, we used to make money at recycling, or we used to get revenue, and they actually got a substantial amount 2 years ago, basically 63,000. They recycled 2,000 to 3,000 tons a year, okay? So it was a significant amount, but the bottom fell out of the market. They didn't get any revenue more. Now it cost $140,000 a year, is what he said, within his budget associated with recycling. Actually, $140,000 sounds cheap. The next person that answered the question was from Knoxville, and they said, wait, we have to pay $28 to take something to the landfill, and it's an $8 difference. So, well, it must have been 26. So they get 17 if they're selling it the other way. Okay, if they recycle it, it costs them $17 a ton. So they save $8 a ton. That's their theory. Then Nashville said, we've gotten a check recently, but it wasn't very big, and it cost me about $1.1 million a year annually for recycling. Interesting thing is Nashville collects once a month. So So that's kind of interesting. Then Bartlett said, well, it cost us about 100 and I think 10 to, it was either 110 or $170 a ton to pick up garbage. I'm thinking recycling would cost us $300 a ton, so we don't recycle. Okay. And then my boss, Robert Knack, said, oh, the big boss, not direct, but he said, we got a check for $22,852 last month. None of those things answer the question, what does it cost to recycle? None, okay? So I had this thought, when could you break even on recycling without revenue? And here's the answer. Right now, as I said, I'm basically at 1,900 tons a month, okay? And so pretty much 20,000 tons a year. But if I made 2,400 tons a month, and I did this for math only, but it worked, 2,400 tons a month, then how would that affect my net zero goal, okay? An average trash truck in the city of Memphis has 8 tons on it at the end of the day. Notice 8 goes into 24. So that was 300. So that's 300 truckloads on a monthly basis are saved from going to the landfill. So there are 22 days in a month. This math didn't work. But it basically ended up being 14 trucks a month are eliminated. The need to pick up garbage. 14 trucks that used to pick up garbage don't. And so now I'm there, okay? I've got 14 trucks. You say, well, Joy, can you pick up all the recycling in the city of Memphis with 14 trucks? No. So I had to go one more step, and I get $25 a ton for diversion, for not taking it to the landfill. I don't spend $25 of your money because I take it to the recycling plant. That equates to $7,200, $720,000 a year, okay? So average truck driver combo, maintenance, et cetera, in the city of Memphis is $105,000 a year, okay? So I have 7 more trucks. Now I have 21 trucks, which is essentially what I use right now for recycling collection. So I paid for it by not paying for it someplace else, or I paid for it by eliminating the need for that truck. And then, let's see, where do I go from here? Oh, in order to make the 2,400 a month with the 21 trucks, I have to route it to where I get 5 tons per truck. Right now, I get about 25% of my trucks come in with 5 tons on them or more. So I've got to work on the rest of them. But yes, it can get to net zero. It can not cost you anything. And it's pretty hard to say that in any government program that basically it can be delivered with your help, each one of y'all's help, for basically a no-cost situation. So it also, I have to pay back the rest of my carts before I can count the money in the setup, okay? So give me 3 years, and I think by then I will be at a point that we will be at net zero. So that's kind of a thing, but this is the first time I've ever spoken to a church, okay? And so I thought, I've got to have a message in here that comes from somewhere other than Joy Williams. And so I thought about that parable. It's in Matthew, and it's about the guys with the gold, okay? I call him a property manager. He's probably a landowner of some sort. He had these guys working for him. And so he decided to give them all money. Actually, it was gold, okay? And he gave the first guy 5 bags. He gave the second guy 2 bags. And he gave the third guy 1 bag. And he came back a couple years later. I don't know where he was gone or what he did in between time, but he came back, and the guy with the 5 bags had doubled the money. He now had 10 bags of gold. The guy says, really good job. Great job. Really do appreciate that. I knew you could do it. You've always been great for me. The second guy had his 2 bags. He doubled his. The third guy went out to find the hole where he dug and covered the money up with and came back with a single bag. You know where your trash goes? It goes in a hole. It's a hole up on this side of town. It's a hole up right at Millington. We set up these gigantic plastic-lined pits. We set up corrugated ADS pipe within it to transfer all the moisture, because your trash really has a lot of moisture in it, and then it just sits there. It never goes anywhere. So, I was born a long time ago, and my mother took my bottles when I was about 1.5 years old, and she put them out at the curb, and she specifically told me that I'm giving your bottles to the garbage men. For weeks afterwards, I yelled at them every time they came by. But today, 64 years later, if I went to Laurel, Mississippi, and I checked the records, and I dug the hole in the tower or mound in which Laurel, Mississippi was disposing waste at that time, you know what would be there? My bottles. It would be everything that my mother basically threw away, because in order to decompose, what do you need? You need moisture, and you need oxygen. Every day at a landfill, it's covered over with clay. Pretty much it stays exactly as it is. So all I have is a hole in the ground with everything that I've thrown away in my life. And quite honestly, it's a discussion I don't want to have with God in the end. How's that for a message? I would at least like to make a difference in one way, shape, or form. And the interesting thing is, when I got this job, we had just moved to Memphis, and my daughter had a bad day at school. And so I said, come on, honey, let's go tour the recycling plant, because I'm interviewing for this job, and I really want it. So we went and we toured the recycling plant. Don't do it. It's really very messy. It's full of dust and dirt. You won't come out feeling clean. And chances are, where you don't have your protective gear on, you'll have kind of a little cast to your face. So we did it. And we came out, and she said to me, Mama, and she was probably in 9th or 10th grade then, 9th grade, if you get this job, you're going to have to recycle. I said to her, what do you mean? We recycle? And she said, no, you don't. You just think you do. Truth from the least point you expected, your children. But it was total truth, and it has made a really big difference in how I approach waste, and how I deal with a lot of other issues, because I know she can see everything. And she's 30 now, but it was a long time ago. But I think that the thing that you have to look at is how you can recycle. We now have recycling programs at work that we didn't have. The thing that I like about y'all, and the thing that I was very impressed with, is there are glasses back there. And there's coffee mugs. There's no paper or styrofoam. So basically, as a church, I see good choices. Good choices. So the question is, when can't you make that choice? When do you not have the option? What can you say? Where does your paper go? Where do your plastics go? I mean, what happens at the school? I don't know anything about the school other than I see signs all over this town saying, I'm a St. Mary's girl. I thought it was a Catholic church. I did. I do. I never associated St. Mary's with this church. I'm sorry. I just assumed that it was all. I grew up in New Orleans. All the schools are Catholic. But when you think about it, think of, number one, what you do at the house. Make choices when you go to the grocery store. The newest thing that is coming around is the fact that a large portion of America is food deprived. They may not be starving, but they are food deprived. How much do you throw away? Would you go? And I did it today. There was this salad with we won't go into it, but there were some things in my refrigerator that needed to be thrown away. And yet, at the same time, at the conference I was at earlier this week, they said, would you pour a gallon of gas on the ground? No. But I'd be more than willing to throw away some old food waste instead of eating it, planning my day better, planning my meals better. So it's in thought, it's in deed, it's in the cart, And it's in everything that you do. So I appreciate all that you do. And do you have any questions? Well,